follow the money.
That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. Mitch Moss, Paulie Howard, live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Busy 3-hour program lined up today. Yesterday was an all-timer. No exaggeration. Day one of the Masters. O.J. Simpson died. Kentucky hired their new head coach, and we found out more details on the Shohei Ohtani story. Are you going to remember where you were yesterday, much like when O.J. got off and he was proven innocent at the time, not guilty, back in 1994, which we'll get to coming up in a little bit. But, Paul, it was only 2 weeks ago when people were screaming from the mountaintops that Ohtani is absolutely guilty, lock him up, throw away the key. Whatever happened to innocent until proven guilty? Whatever happened to that? Now, I'm not going to tell you this morning that he had absolutely no knowledge of this and he was never involved, whatever. It's way too early to even indicate that. But based on the complaint and the text messages that came out, his interpreter, Ipe, he had a severe problem. This was completely out of control. Mm-hmm. And he was trying to keep it secretive, evidently based on the messages. But first of all, his average wager with a bookie was $12,800. His largest, they took $160,000 from him on one bet. He lost about almost $41 million between December 21 and January of 2024.
All-time bad ROI.
Oh, that's just slightly over 2 years.
Yep.
And the smallest bet was $10 as people were speculating on X. How big was that parlay?
I know. It doesn't make any sense. A missed click or something. Or it was a 15-teamer. You're right. That doesn't make any sense. There are too many people, but a large portion of people that think everything is a conspiracy and a cover-up, and it's out of control, and it must stop. And there are still people that still always got to have something to do with it, even after all this news. Really? The guy's going to do 30 years? And you think he's just going to, it's a cover-up. Obviously, he had something to do with it. The guy's looking at 30 years. So just lie after lie after lie, and admitting several times in these text messages, boy, I'm terrible at this.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I got a problem. And then, you're faking Ohtani that he's on the phone and when the bank calls and all this stuff over and over again. And the IRS involved. And recorded phone calls where he pretends to be Ohtani. But still, people, Ohtani has to. No, even if Ohtani had something to do with it, it's still nothing to see here because there wasn't a baseball bet made. So, let's end that. But the one question I do have, though, and I'm sure he lied as well, but why were his limits so high? He's making $300,000 a year.
Yeah.
The guy's down millions of dollars.
Right. So that's why I can't completely say Ohtani had no knowledge of it yet. I'm not going to go completely, and wipe that possibility away. Like, did Ohtani know that Ipe liked to bet? Who knows? But that, I think the reason why you might get a limit that high is because this guy clearly knows that Ipe is Ohtani's interpreter.
Yeah.
I mean, if he's using Ohtani as, that name to get more people to bet with him, then he knows, obviously, that the connection is there.
Well, looking at the transcripts, too, he also lied and said Ohtani would help me out with some of the debt.
Yeah.
And then that turned out to be a lie as well.
Well, here's how bad the problem was, Paul. There was
he told, here's how about this? We thought it was 4.5, it was 16. He also stole money to buy baseball cards from Ohtani.
Yeah.
He told the accountants and advisors that Ohtani didn't want to have them to have access to his accounts, and they didn't speak Japanese. Well, that ball game right there. I mean, right there. There it is.
Sure. Back in June, this is how bad it was for this guy. Again, text messages from the complaint. This is Ipe reaching out to the bookie, quote, I got my ass kicked again, LOL. Any chance I can get one last bump? This will be my last one for a while if I lose it. Uh-huh. Of course, the bookmaker responds by saying, okay, yeah, and he goes on to tell him, like, I'm going to need $500 a week, whatever, but we'll handle it. The very next day, he responds again, reaches out to the bookmaker. I'm the worst, LOL. Can't catch a break. Can I get one last bump? I swear this is going to be my last one until I get the balance down significantly. Promise, last bump for a while. The bookie reaches back out and says, okay, no problem, done. 1 day after that. I have a problem. Laugh out loud. Can I get one last bump? This one is for real. Last one for real. And the bookie responded, done. I have the same problem. LOL. And then he talks about how he needs at least $500 a week, to make sure that the bumps are going to continue to go up. I mean, what kind of bumps are we talking about here? That sounds like a cocaine addict that we're talking about. Just give me one more. And this guy is just as bad as it gets, rock bottom, when he is losing every single day significantly. Oh, I swear to God, just make my limits a little bit higher. He's martingaling everything. Yeah. I'm going to bet more today to get back what I lost yesterday. Oh, I'm going to lose this, then I need bigger bumps here so I can just come back over the top and bet even bigger. And when I get back now, I'm going to be even over the last couple of days.
Yeah. I mean, the guy's betting the board, too. The guy's making 25 bets a day. Also, when he won, the winnings went into his account, not Ohtani's account.
How strange
that's another
is that?
thing. Yeah, right. That's another one. Sound the alarms. So that's another reason why Ohtani wouldn't know. And the actual event of the guy picked a winner. But, recorded phone calls pretending to be Ohtani. No access for the accountants and advisors, stealing money to get baseball cards. 2 years of text that feds have. 2 years of text between the interpreter and Ohtani. Not one mention of gambling. And not one bet was made on baseball. And he could be doing 30 years.
How about this? It got so bad to where the payments would not come down, and he was not taking out those debts at all, that this is only a few months ago in November. It's in Newport Beach.
Oh, yes.
This is incredible, where the bookie reached out to iPay and said, hey, it's 2 o'clock. It's Friday. I don't know why you're not returning my calls. I'm here in Newport, and I see victim A walking the dog. He's talking about Ohtani. I'm just going to go up and talk to him and ask how I can get in touch with you since you're not responding. Please call me back immediately.
Right.
This is like that shades of, hey, I see him. His legs are going to get broken, pal.
Yeah.
Or your legs are going to get broken. We know where he is. You can't stop. You cannot continue to ignore my calls here.
I don't think that's a big jump. I think that could have been in play. Like, you owe me so much money. I'm going to go talk to Ohtani, or I'm going to hurt Ohtani if you don't come up with the money.
Yeah.
Or talk to Ohtani because I know Ohtani has it.
When he's down this much money, you don't know how these people are going to operate. No idea. And if he just, by the way, randomly see Ohtani walking his dog? Or were they trying to track him down and they had eyeballs on him? And he could put that thread out there like, hey, we tracked him down. We know where he's at. I'm going to go say something. Let's pick up the phone right now and call me back.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring that up, but I used to know someone, a friend of a friend, who was in this type of business, and he had a Ray Donovan type on the payroll. Because it's always like, how do you collect? What if you're taking big bets like this? What do you do? He goes, I had a Ray Donovan type guy on the payroll.
I believe it.
And if the guy wouldn't pay, I would get down and dirty, where you would threats of violence, or you just go in and maybe, peekaboo, I downloaded something on your computer. Yeah. You're not going to pay now? Okay.
Yep.
Your life's over. What I just downloaded on your computer snuck in there. So, take a peek. So you have that angle. But that is, I also go back to, because if you read the transcripts, I'm going through my other partner here, and the guy texting the translator had to front some of the money. So he was in the hole, and that's why it was imperative that the translator was sending money, or whoever it was going to be,
right,
that they got paid. So again, why were the limits so high? Well, I guess you just say, well, the guy can't pick his nose, just keep it going. But it's just,
maybe he was convinced that Ohtani's going to help him out at some point.
But look what the number got to.
Oh, I know. At some
this
point,
is ridiculous. He makes $300,000 a year.
Yeah,
we're in $40 million.
Or did he actually have? Was there a way to make it look like he was making more money somehow using fraudulent numbers from Ohtani's accounts? Was that possible? This guy seems like he was doing anything he could to keep it as shady as possible to get him off the hook here. But this is also all-timer here, and kind of puts the nail in the coffin for him. This was March 20th, again, only a few weeks ago, where the bookmaker reaches out and says, have you seen the reports? Actually, iPay did. Bookmaker says, yeah, it's all BS. Obviously, you didn't steal from him. I understand this is a cover job. I totally get it. iPay responds, quote, technically, I did steal from him. It's all over for me. He put that in writing. Mm-hmm. He put that in a text message. They have that from the complaint. Technically, I did steal from Ohtani.
Why would he say technically, though? I mean, if all this is true, it's a slam dunk. Absolutely, there's no technically. I mean, you did.
Lost in translation.
Why the technically? Right. Yeah, but yeah, he put it in writing and admitted that what he did.
Does this? I mean, think about this, man. None of this takes place, right, with an English-speaking player. Ohtani can't speak. He doesn't speak English. He has to use the interpreter. Is this possible to happen with a guy who is not named Shohei Ohtani? He's from the States, speaks English, doesn't need an interpreter.
Well, becoming best friends with the guy was the other thing. I mean, everyone's guilty of this, but bad judge of character. Because what this guy was doing and shutting off the notifications and posing as him on phone calls and shutting out the accountants and the financial advisors and everything.
By the way,
I mean, that's some trust that Ohtani had in the guy. This guy ran everything, apparently.
Now, is it my imagination, or did they get from point A to almost point B immediately here? Kind of tells me that baseball wanted to shut this down ASAP. Like, let's get a move on here. Like, this is priority number one. Let's dig deep. Let's get the text messages now. Get this out there to prove that the best player in our sport is not guilty. This is a very fast turnaround.
Well, Feds and IRS involved, so
yeah,
I think they're ready to wrap this up too and get going. The documentary will be incredible.
Follow the money here on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. So much to get to today. Updated Masters numbers based on trends, important ones. Handful of guys can win the tournament at this point, and I tell people to never settle all the time. I'm stunned they decided to settle.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. It is Follow the Money. This show is brought to you by DraftKings, and we're live in downtown Las Vegas from the Circa Resort and Casino. Starting this hour off with professional sports bettor Aaron Renning, one of the very best in the entire world betting the NBA. ER, thanks for the time today. We appreciate it. I want to ask you a question about last night's game, Celtics-Knicks, as ER here is on the progressive guest line. How much of that do you take away moving forward to the playoffs as a positive for the Knicks? Because the Celtics did play all their guys, right? And they got blown out by the Knicks. But also being careful with that because the Celtics here, they've had nothing to play for a long time. They are running away with the East. And what you think about that team once the playoffs roll around as a result?
Yeah, good to be with you as always, guys. And, I don't put a lot into it, to be honest. Boston obviously has the 1 seed. They're trying different combinations. They don't really care at this point. So, it's interesting where that spread was because it was 3.5. I did bet the Knicks in that contest. I wish I would have bet more. It's funny because if you go back a couple of games for Boston, I think it was that game against Sacramento. A couple of Fridays ago, that was one of my bigger bets I've had in a month. I had bet Sacramento, and it looked like they were dead going into the fourth quarter. And remember, Boston sat all their, they played everybody, but they sat everybody in the fourth quarter. And here, Sacramento came storming back, almost a chance to win that game. So, all I could say is remember last year with Denver. Denver really kind of coasted through the final month and a half of the season. They pretty much had the 1 seed. They did not play well. I remember I had guys that follow this stuff be like, well, I don't think Denver can win the title. And, they just kind of laid in the weeds if you can, and the playoffs came around. So I would expect that for the Celtics. I mean, this looks like the Celtics Invitational in the Eastern Conference, unless things fall right, maybe for Philadelphia. But, boy, they're going to be good. And, the Knicks are going to be a tough out here in the East as well.
Good answer. Good memory as well. How important, I don't think it's a big deal for players. How important is seeding when you're handicapping games today and Sunday, if you're going to make a wager or not?
I don't put that much into it, guys. You'll see it with perhaps the Milwaukee Bucks tonight have a chance for really most likely going to get the 2 seed, but hey, they can fall to the 3 and 4. That's the furthest they can fall, but they have a chance to sit everybody here tonight, and they're probably, again, a little bit paranoid with Giannis getting hurt. the other night, but Oklahoma City's almost a 15-point favorite. And I'll probably bet Oklahoma City for a little bit here, but the Bucks don't seem to care about this game at all. Some teams more than others. As far as seeding, I don't think it's a big deal. Obviously, if a team's in a 4 or 5 situation, they'll probably play a little bit harder to try to get that 4 seed. Obviously, the big difference for me is, the play-in to seeding. If a team's playing for, the 2 or the 3 or the 4, it's probably not that big of a deal for them. It's not, going to be motivation to make a bet. However, if you're looking at a team like Golden State, obviously the Pelicans, where, they could be, Pelicans could be probably the 6, but they could fall to the 7 or 8. Obviously with Golden State, you're looking at that team. They have a chance to maybe be at the 8 and play one less game. So those are the things that to me matter here at the last couple of games of the season.
You have a lot of power. You're one of the best in the world, and you bet big. Head fakes today and Sunday, are you able to manipulate the market more so now? Or is it more difficult because everyone's just wait? Like if you come out right now and make a big bet on somebody, can then you then come back later in the day and get a juicy number? How much will people overreact if you do something right now?
Yeah, you definitely can do that. I don't know if there's a lot of that going on. The one thing I will say is, the market is quite a bit smaller the last couple days of the season because these games are generally circled. Mm-hmm. They don't know if guys are playing. So the limits are a little bit less than they would be throughout the regular season because they don't know who's playing. The books are a little bit more cautious. So it is easier to meet, but to move stuff. But with that said, stuff will move a lot faster as well. So if you can make a little smaller bet and, maybe they move something a half point or a point, books will move a little bit more aggressively as well. You saw that with the Phoenix Suns. Obviously, the other night, going back against the Clippers, I actually bet Phoenix Suns in both those games against the Clippers. Boy, that's been roller coaster betting on that team. But you saw that line really move the other night.
Well, that's the thing, right? That's the next game I wanted to ask you about. You're leading right into it. We're talking to Aaron Rennie, professional sports bettor here on the Progressive Guest Line. So that team, completely unreliable. They're lane 5 against Sacramento, but on the flip side, the Kings are just a total mess right now. Is this maybe just a stay away, or what do you think about that number?
Really, it's kind of the number. It was a stay away game for me, as I didn't really see anything going in to that game. But boy, I was surprised to see the Phoenix Suns a 5-point favorite. I mean, I tell you what, I've tried to bet against this Phoenix Suns team with really pretty much success throughout the season so far. I just haven't liked it. They haven't had a good feel. And I found them in some pretty good spots, and I've tried to bet them. And I tell you what, it's backfired just about every single time. I mean, it just hasn't been a team that's reliable. It can count on. They have one of the worst against the spread marks. But, yeah, they've been well regarded in the marketplace. They've actually played a little bit better. Defensively, they've gotten it together. But, like I say, I bet them the other night against the first game against the Clippers. I laid 7. Couldn't believe it. 35-4 in the first quarter. I mean, how do you take that team serious? I mean, I laid 7. They went off at 9.5. You feel decent about that bet. No Harden, no Kawhi.
Yeah.
I mean, what a debacle. 51-14. And then I'm like, well, okay, I got to do it again because I thought it was even a better spot. I mean, I was around the world in that game. First quarter, first half game, and it turned out to be a great bet. When I laid 4.5, and they go off a 12-point favorite,
right?
And had to sweat the whole thing. I lose my first. I couldn't believe I lost the first half. They're up 51-36, and they blow that. Going into halftime. So it's just been crazy. And 5. I mean, Sacramento has definitely had a tough go here, but the schedule has not been great. For them as well. They went on that road trip. They go to Oklahoma City. Not great. They gave that game up in the second half, but first game off that road trip last night, so they did fight back. But I may bet Sacramento here in this one. Definitely lean that way.
I think Denver's too high. Wembanyama's supposed to play 13.5 on the road. This is a tax because they're trying to get the 1 seed. Thoughts on Denver and San Antonio and anything else you recommend or anything else you think you're going to play?
Yeah, to be honest, I haven't had a great read on the San Antonio team. I had a hard time early in the season, so I just kind of stayed away from them for the most part. Definitely have a lot of guys out. They laid an egg the other night. Not positive Wemby's actually going to play here. I would expect him to. But you're right, it's probably a little bit different. Denver playing for this 1 seed. You saw them come out and play well against Minnesota the other night. Not involved in that game. The last couple days here of the regular season is kind of a bizarre schedule. No games here for Saturday. This is generally when I'll look to maybe bet some bad teams here. Against teams that are just into the playoffs or whatever, clinched and everything, and not paying that much attention. Obviously, been trying to fade Boston a little bit, but I'll have a bet on the Wizards tonight against the Bulls. Obviously, the Bulls lock up home court in that first game against Atlanta. Okay. Doesn't mean anything. I'd be surprised if they played a lot of guys here. I would expect Caruso to be out. Washington trying to build something for next season, still seem to be playing for somewhat hard. I mean, if some of these starters are missing for Washington, that's a good thing for this team. They've been so bad. So, you're really trying to make a case for them. I actually bet Charlotte the other night against Atlanta. I had them on the money line. So, you try to find those spots, but, that's one I'm looking for. But you can't be afraid to lay it as well. I'll probably lay it with Miami. They got embarrassed when they played Toronto. Miami actually sitting decent here. Toronto goes to Miami for 2 games, so bet a little bit on Miami, Washington. Probably look to bet the Pacers plus the points. So some of the games I'm looking at tonight.
Yeah, all right. Good insight. Appreciate it, and we'll talk to you once the playoffs start. Thanks, ER.
I can't wait for that. Thanks, guys. Good luck.
Yep. Thanks, ER.
He crushed another great year, and the grind will be over for him at ER Sports 1 on X. He was on the Progressive guest line. This is what the Lakers need. They need the Pelicans to beat Golden State tonight and the Suns to beat Sacramento. And if they win out, they get the 8 seed.
All right, so you're telling me there's a chance.
Well, that's not that crazy.
That can happen, but
now Brandon Ingram is coming back and I know Shaq and Barkley talked about this Sunday. Sunday he's playing? Ingram's back Sunday, the final game.
No games tomorrow.
I know, but they could use him tonight, but they want to get him some run because they're going to probably be in the play-in. But again, a lot can happen here. The Suns have the tiebreaker over the Pelicans, but the Pelicans have the lead right now for the 6. But the Pelicans have to go to Golden State, and then they host the Lakers, Phoenix in Sac, and then they go to Minnesota.
Right.
Sac, Golden State, and the Lakers all have the same record with 2 games left. Sac has the tiebreaker. They'd be the 8, Golden State the 9. The Lakers are the 10. They're 10 games over 500. They're the 10 seed. I don't think you'd...
Playing at Golden State as of right now for the play-in.
Yeah. Yes.
Oof.
Lakers should bury Memphis tonight, but then they have to go to New Orleans on Sunday, and there'll be a lot on the line for the Pelicans. But that's a big one tonight with Golden State laying 4 at home.
More on tonight's card coming up next. And I made a couple of baseball future bets yesterday that I'll tell you about here on VSiN.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money. Yeah.
This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Welcome in. This show is brought to you by DraftKings. We're live in Las Vegas, Circa Resort and Casino. What a day yesterday was. What a weekend this is shaping up to be. Day 1, of course, of the Masters wrapping up as we speak. And, one guy who struggled to pick it back up this morning was a guy that I talked about earlier in the show who I wanted to bet in the top 10 market. And that was Patrick Reed, who was 2 under when the show started. He did not finish so strong today, Paulie. Bogey, double bogey to close out. So that guy was affected. Typically, again, the 8 of the last 10 winners in the Masters, they played that Thursday late afternoon round into the Friday morning round. Did not go well for him. Højgaard, I believe, is in at 5 under. And Homa is still at 4 as we speak.
No, Homa just had an eagle.
He did.
Yeah. Homa's 6 under now.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Oh, they're showing it live right now.
Yep.
Okay. All right, we'll talk NBA here as David Thorpe, the coach, joins the program now with the True Hoop podcast. He's on the Progressive guest line. Coach, good to talk to you again. How you been?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Doing really well.
Good, Coach.
What'd you make of that matchup last night and the end result with the Knicks beating the Celtics? And then for New York's sake, what their prospects might look like in the Eastern Conference playoffs?
I mean, I think they're capable of winning 4 games in a series, maybe one series. I don't know that they can beat Boston when it matters. If they're, it's a fight right now in the East to not be a 4-5, because then you got to face that green monster when the games really matter in the second round. What an interesting last couple of games is going to be this weekend. But New York's, super tough. They can really ratchet up their defense with Hartenstein and Anunoby. The way DiVincenzo shoots, Brunson obviously is an incredible bucket getter, probably an all-NBA level player. And I think Boston's just chilling. They know what they've got. I think they're young guys, and they're playing for a G League championship. I think those guys will be playing. They just played last night in Oklahoma City, lost a game to clinch it, and I think they'll be playing this weekend some, so the Boston regulars can rest up for the playoffs.
Okay, very good. We haven't had a chance to talk to you. I'm interested to get your thoughts on Milwaukee, because they were 17 games over with Griffin. Now they're under 500 with Doc, but they did say they feel that they're made for the playoffs because the game slows down and they're big and physical. What do you think of that assessment, and if you think Milwaukee can get their act together come playoff time?
I certainly don't believe anyone who's saying we're built for anything in the postseason when their regular season team's not doing so good. Mm-hmm. They're not going to say the truth and say we're really struggling here, but that's what they are. Quite frankly, Adrian Griffin was a mistake to hire for a team that was trying to win a championship immediately, just because it's hard as a first-year coach. Darvin Ham learned that same lesson in L.A., and hiring Doc was even a worse mistake. Just the reality of the business that we're in. I don't know why they thought he had some kind of magical wand, given his track record the last decade or so. They've created the mess they have. I'm worried about Giannis. We're actually writing about him this coming week at True Hoop. Worried about Giannis. And the calf strain is a concern. Doctors will know better than me, better than I, whether or not there's a chance for something more severe if he keeps playing. But either way, this is a team that just has not been connected for quite a while. And I definitely think they could lose in the first round no matter who they play.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So based on that statement, then, I don't see them as a true contender in the East. This Giannis injury is certainly not going to help out. How would you rank the teams in order that could give either the Celtics a series or maybe even potentially beat them in the East?
I just wrote an article about this week, guys. The only team I think has a chance to beat them is Philly if Embiid plays. He's beyond extraordinary. What Jokic was doing for a couple of years was almost unprecedented, and yet Embiid was better than him this season. I thought Jokic deserved the MVP last year. I do not think Jokic deserves it this year. Embiid can't win it, but would have been the unanimous winner without question. He was destroying the league, and he is the cheat code that can knock down Boston. Doesn't mean they will, but I give Nick Nurse a ton of credit. He got some personal votes for me for Coach of the Year, for keeping the team together without Joel and building a system that helped Embiid have the best season we've seen in a long time from a big man.
More on this article you wrote at TrueHoop.com with this pecking order. So obviously you got Denver, Boston, Denver 1-2. And you just said about what you think of Philadelphia. But where you at with Dallas and even the Clippers? What's your pecking order now outside of the big two? Who can maybe surprise and your pick to win the title if it's not the big two?
Yeah, I think I don't remember how many teams now. I wrote it a few days ago, and I'm getting old, guys, so I forget fast. But Dallas is certainly a team that we have to take seriously. I actually was getting a lot of criticism. I wrote an article way back in February. I think it was titled "Dallas Won the Trade Deadline." I didn't title it, but that was what I wrote. Getting Gafford and P.J. Washington seemed to be like universally panned for some of the assets they gave up for them. I don't think people were watching Washington and Charlotte. I was. I watched everybody. Gafford's terrific. PJ, I think, is coming around, although I thought he'd be better than what he's been. Let's hope that for Dallas' sake, I hope he figures it out better. He's got to shoot well, but Luka's probably the best lob passer in the league, and just didn't really he's not throwing lobs to Dwight Powell and Maxi Kleber. Derek Lively's a rookie and was doing well. Crawford's a significant upgrade. He's a much better rim protector with experience, not necessarily playoff experience. I think they've kind of figured out some things with him and with PJ, and the role players get their role. Derek Jones Jr. and Hardaway. Luka is otherworldly, and Kyrie is playing drama-free right now. We haven't seen a peaceful Kyrie in a long time, guys, but that's what we're seeing right now. So given those two playmakers in the backcourt, the way they can stretch the floor at the rim because of Gafford's ability to jump to 13 feet and catch a lob and rim protect on the other end. I'm not the biggest Jason Kidd fan, but we can't argue with what he's put together lately is a serious threat to Denver. I would favor Denver to win, but they'd have to play really well. And without that bench, there's an argument, there's a universe out there where Dallas wins the whole thing.
Okay. I don't disagree with that. So would you say that right now they're the second best team in the West? Would you put them current form? I think they probably are, but like we're talking long term here. Are they better than the T-Wolves in your mind? Are they better than OKC?
It's a really challenging thing. I actually think Minnesota is right there with them because they're staunch defensive abilities. And then also, and I actually wrote about this when they traded for Rudy 2 years ago, it was a bet on Anthony Edwards. The whole move was a bet on Anthony Edwards. Yeah. They were betting that he was going to be an MVP level player, and he's turned into one. And so if he can do in the postseason what he's capable of doing, again, he is very young, with the way they can defend Conley at the point of attack as a quarterback on both ends, the way Rudy's defending McDaniel obviously defensively. I think Chris Finch has done a good job. He also is someone that got some Coach of the Year love from me. He wasn't my main pick, but he's done a good job. Cat is a wild card. They did really well. I think Naz Reid's the best shooting big coming off the bench in the NBA. They've got some firepower with him and alternatives to Cat if he doesn't really have – he's not going to come back at full strength right away. He's been out, I think, 17, 18 games now. So there's going to be some lag there. Naz Reid really kind of helps fill that void. Edwards has to be spectacular for them to win, but that might happen. And OKC, I think the SGA is if you exclude Embiid because he missed so many games. We wrote an article, I think 2 weeks ago, saying Embiid, SGA was the best player in the world, which he has been. Again, in terms of qualifying for MVP, he's a two-way superstar, not just a one-way superstar. He's played elite-level defense. They need Chet to play well as a rookie, but he's got a defined role. He can do that. He can be like a Gafford, except he's more of a three-point shooter than a finisher at the rim like Daniel Gafford is. They kind of win by committee, but one thing to focus on is the way Josh Giddey finished the season. He didn't just shoot better from three. He started taking advantage of his size as a big 6'7", 6'8" guard, and he got buckets for them. I think that's really important because I think teams were going to not guard him in the postseason and clog the lane up to help kind of build a wall against Shea. And you can't do that the way Giddey's been scoring. If he can keep doing that, he's obviously an incredibly elite passer. I think OKC's got a fighter's chance too. Denver just has to play really well, and they'll smoke everyone. They did it last year. It doesn't mean they'll do it this year.
Yeah. David Thorpe, our guest, Coach Thorpe on X on the Progressive Guest Line. He writes for True Hoop, truehoop.com. Check out his article and all his articles up there as well. I subscribe. You should too. Follow the Money, Paulie and Mitch VSiN. So who is 90 seconds here, Coach? Who is Coach of the Year then? You mentioned SGA MVP, but the jump OKC took. Finch held it down when Towns was out. The job Mosley did in Orlando. Who would you give it to then? Who do you think is going to get it?
Mosley. What I think there was a world that we thought the Thunder could take this big jump because they do have this incredible talent in Shea and then all those lottery picks. Minnesota, they had Edwards and they had Cat and Rudy, and Conley we know is a solid player. Nothing against those coaches at all, but I think what Jamal Mosley did, I don't think anyone expected them to play the defense that they're playing. They have an assistant coach who's a longtime friend of mine named Dell Osborne, who kind of runs their defense. I even asked him way back in the November, December, what's happening? He said, Coach Mosley is just giving me the green light to just hammer our guys all the time about our defensive intensity. our preparation, our passion to play, to defend. And Jamal has done it. He's really been terrific. Franz has not had a great shooting year, and Paolo is barely a net positive player for them. He's going to be terrific, but he's just a second-year player, and he's young. And for them to play defense the way they played, then I have to mention Jonathan Isaac, who's probably the best defensive player in the world in his minutes. He's incredible.
Wow, okay. Coach Thorpe's going to hang out for a few more minutes. We're going to get into more awards. I want to have him expand on Shea for MVP and who is his Defensive Player of the Year. I can't wait to hear this coming up next here on VSiN.
Check out vsin.com today. Podcasts are always up there. Best bets, betting splits, exclusive articles, betting tools, betting guides. Long shots will be up after the cut later tonight as well. Get up there. Check it out as always, vsin.com.
We continue with the NBA here as Coach David Thorpe is our guest. The True Hoop podcast, truehoop.com. He's on the Progressive Guest line. So you made that comment on Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, why you think he's the MVP. You called him a two-way superstar. I totally agree. Can you expand on that, why you think he should win the award this year over Nikola Jokic and also Luka Doncic?
Yes, I mean, those guys are incredible players, obviously. But two things. One, his team is super young, talented, but super young. And yet here we are on the last weekend and competing for a 1 seed. But the biggest thing, guys, is we have advanced metrics now that account for everything. On court, offense, on-court defense, off-court, how the team's doing without you. All those things are factored in. Embiid was number 2 last year. Jokic has been number 1 3 straight years. He won 2 of those years. He should have won last year. Narratives are what they are. Those metrics, Embiid's blowing everyone out, but he's not qualified. SGA is blowing everyone else out, and then it's Luka. And I think Nicole is 4th. I don't know what the point of metrics are. If we're just going to do the eye test, and want to go back to the 1980s, we can do that. But we have these advanced metrics now. We know who's having the biggest impact in games, and it's not like his team is losing. It'd be different if they were a 4 seed, and at least then you could qualify some things. No, they're a potential 1 seed in a much stronger conference in the East. Obviously, what Denver's done, and Nicola's incredible. But again, we have these advanced metrics. People spend thousands and thousands of hours putting these things together, and I trust them, and those tell us SGA has been the best player in the league this year. Amongst people qualified to win the award, he should win the award.
Okay. You mentioned Naz Reid earlier. Is he 6th man of the year?
No. Although, if you voted him that, you're not stupid. I think the best bench in the league in terms of scoring, which is pretty important, benches often struggle to score, are the Indiana Pacers bench, And T.J. McConnell has just been otherworldly for them. He's having a career year, and he's like 29 years old. It's amazing. I even heard LeBron say the other day, he's like one of his favorite guys in the league to watch. I happen to watch the Pacers a lot because of, I call their style of play blur ball. And it's just so fast with what they do, and they set a lot of blur screens, blur actions. TJ's been incredible. He's a big part of why that team is competing for, they might even get to a 4 seed despite it. Other than Siakam and Miles, they're very young. And TJ's a big part of that, so he would be my 6th man of the year.
I thought the most improved is made for guys like Kobe White. Maxey was already a good player. We just did this with Ja Morant. Who's most improved in your eyes?
So, honestly, the most improved player this year, I wouldn't give him the award, is SGA. Because the jump from elite to world's best player is the hardest jump to make of all, period, end of story.
Okay.
He's made enormous leaps from last year when he was first team All-NBA. But that's never going to win it. I would give it to Jalen Williams, although Kobe White's been great.
Okay.
Jalen Williams was an okay rookie last year. It looked like he had potential. Guys, he's an all-star. He wasn't an all-star, but he's playing like one. He looks like he's got All-NBA potential because of what he's done this year. That jump he's made from being below average last year to one of the best players in the league this year in year 2 on a team that's now competing for a 1 seed, as I said, he would be my pick. Colin Sexton deserved credit. So do a lot of guys. Sexton's made a huge jump, and I'm really proud of that on a team. Otherwise, it's pretty sad in Utah.
Yeah, to me, again, Maxey, and you could see this, right? I mean, once Harden left, you knew that the usage was going to go up and he's going to get a lot more playing time. But in my eyes, Maxey was already a superstar, might be a bit strong, but he was already a really fantastic player in this league with really good numbers.
Yeah, so I never look at raw numbers. I always look at advanced metrics. He's definitely improved in the advanced metrics too. I did Zach Lowe's show last week, and we did this. We did this exact award, and he was on my list. I think he was in my top 11. But the jump Jalen made, and like I said, the jump SGA made. I did last year, 2 years ago. I picked Luka on Zach's show. I picked Luka because he did the same thing. He went from being an elite player to one of the 2 or 3 best players in the world. That's the hardest leap to make of all. And as someone who's in the development business, I respect that a lot.
Do you keep receipts? Do you remember what people were saying in the summer league about Wembanyama and what people said when you said he'll be the best player in the world in a year or two? Because I can't. He's exceeded expectations. He's probably going to be the best player in the league next season, in the second year in the league. This guy, the numbers he puts up every night, and he's going to continue to improve. I remember people saying, "Oh, the Spurs made a mistake because he struggled with his shot in the summer league." I mean, this is what do you think about Wembanyama and moving forward?
So I saw him as a 15-year-old on some clips being really competitive. I thought you don't see that a lot. 7'4", being as competitive as him, that's a good sign. I know his people. I'm not really friendly with his top agent, but I know some of the guys that work with him on the agency side. Super professional, very bright, very serious. I have guys that I work with on the Spurs who are telling me this offseason, he's going to blow your mind, coach. He's doing things that we've never seen before. And it's always funny when you see a player who's never played against him before. I have him take a shot that Victor's going to block it. Victor knows he's going to block it. But this young, 22 or whatever, doesn't realize this guy is something like you've never seen before. It's cute. It's funny. And these guys were telling me he's going to be amazing. They're still figuring out how to best utilize him. They can utilize him some as a Jokic Embiid type. He's a gifted passer, a willing passer also. But what he does defensively alone, and that's the thing I think the average person, it's hard for people to really digest in basketball. The value defense is half the game. We didn't until very recently have the metrics to show that. Very easy in NFL and football. In basketball, it's different. It's not just steals and blocks. We're starting to really get some algorithms, some metrics that we can really trust to best represent what's happening on the other side of the court. And Wemby's impact there is monumental. The team needs to catch up. He's not going to be MVP until the team is top 4 or so in the West. I don't know if that'll be next year without some upgrades at some positions, but I think the foundation's there because of him. And I'm a big fan of Devin Vassell, who also is on my top 11 list for most improved. I think he's Chris Middleton for them. He's going to be a big-time shot maker in the playoffs. He can get shots that he wants off because of his high release and the way he shoots it. And I like Keldon Johnson off the bench for them. I still think they got to replace some other players and add some people. But they've got the assets. They've got draft picks, and they've got money to spend in this offseason.
His steals, blocks, deflections are off the charts. Their numbers are great when he's on the floor. They're lousy when he's off the floor, and how bad they are defensively. Would you give him Defensive Player of the Year?
I would not. Listen, I don't have an official vote. I like to look at overall team construct, not just when you're on the court. And so for that reason, and I look at how many minutes you play and all of that, how many games. He's certainly deserving of it. I get why you give it, but their team isn't very good. I give it to Bam. Their team, I think when I looked before the games last night, they were 6th in the NBA in defense. Bam's played a ton of minutes and a ton of games. They don't have a lot of good defenders around him, and yet they're number 6. And Spoelstra deserves credit that their commitment to defense matters. Bam guards everybody. He's everywhere. He doesn't have to block shots or get steals necessarily. He mucks things up. He gets in the way. It's hard to get easy shots against him. He's a very intelligent player. He takes away what you want to do. And Isaiah Hartenstein's been amazing. AD's been great. SGA's been amazing. I would give it to Bam.
If the Heat get the Celtics in the first round of the playoffs, if that's the 1-8 matchup, they got him last year. Would you give them better than a puncher's chance again this year?
Not really.
No.
Yeah, I think Boston's learned a lot. I think Joe Mazzulla's found a place. Last year, I think he took over the day before camp started. It really wasn't his team. It's his team now. Drew and Derek White, who also is in my MIP and DPOY consideration, he's third team All-NBA for me when I did it yesterday on our podcast. I think that the Celtics are a juggernaut. Their net margin, all of their advanced metrics show they're like the Warriors of the 16-17 season that won 67 games and lost one playoff game in their 4 rounds. Boston is built to cruise through this postseason. Doesn't mean they will, but I think that they've got something going on. KP is really important. He's got to be a post presence for them on occasion anyway, because they shoot a lot of threes. They take more threes than anyone, and they have a bunch of great shooters. But they also defend, so they can win games they don't shoot well because their defense, and I think he's going to be big in those games. He has a role to play. He's got to do it. If he doesn't do it, I'll be concerned. But I'm going in. I'm believing that he'll do it.
30 seconds. What kind of pro will Zach Edey be?
He'll be around for a while. I love him. He is to be studied by college coaches and programs for years because of how much he improved. But in the world's best league, I don't think he has the agility and speed or the fitness for that matter. We play much faster in the NBA than they do in most colleges, certainly in the Big Ten. He'll hang around as a third-string guy. Luke Garza from Iowa was amazing. Doesn't ever play in the NBA. I think it's going to be a similar story for Edey. Better than Boban, but not much different than Boban.
All right. Great catching up with you. Awesome analysis as always. TrueHoop.com is the website. The podcast is also a True Hoop podcast. Coach Thorpe, thanks so much for the time. We appreciate that.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. Have a good weekend.
You too. You join us on the Progressive Guest Line. We'll recap the betting action from last night and win some, lose some. That's next on Follow the Money. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.